Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Okay, so today will be a special video as we hop into the time machine and travel back a whole 21 years to the year 2003 as we look at this. From the live action Universal, Ang Lee directed and Eric Bana starring, we have the Hulk action figure. So this is the super poseable version of the Hulk with catapult launching action. I had this figure when it first came out years ago, back in 2003. But some years later, I gave it away to one of my little cousins. He was at that age where he was kind of discovering superheroes, and I just thought it'd be a nice gesture to, give him a bunch of my loose superhero figures. And, I gave away the Hulk, and I kind of regretted it ever since. But I am so happy to have this back in my collection. I came across this recently at a local collectible toy store, and the price point wasn't bad. I think I might have paid, like $25 for it. So for me, it was a steal. It's a beautiful looking action figure. The graphic design work and the package is just really cool. The window frames the figure perfectly. You have this nice illustration. The masthead on top from the Universal logo. On the back, it highlights the play feature. Not only is he superposable, but he comes with this display base, and if you hammer down on it, it kind of launches the figure. Nice description of the movie and the Hulk. And then here are some of the other toys in the line. You had the Hulk dogs, if you remember that. The Rampaging Hulk and the Smash and Scream Hulk. So it kind of pains me to open them up, but I really want to play with this toy. So let's get started. I have to admit that even though I'm a big fan of Hasbro and the modern Marvel Legends action figures, there's a part of me that is so nostalgic for the toys that Toy Biz gave us during the early 2000s. I thought some of the stuff they just produced was just, man, it was just ahead of the game. And Toy Biz, they have an important history, especially when it comes to Marvel. If I remember my facts correctly, I believe it was Toy Biz that kind of like pulled Marvel out of bankruptcy in the late 90s and early 2000s. Marvel was experiencing some financial difficulty, and I think that's when they sold the film rights to Sony for Spider-Man, and they also sold the X-Men to 20th Century Fox. That's why it took forever for them to produce the X-Men characters under the Disney banner. Luckily, they were able to strike a deal with Sony, and we got the Tom Holland Spider-Man. And I still think to this day there's a reason why we haven't gotten a dedicated Hulk film, because I think Universal still possesses the film rights to producing Hulk movies. So I think that's one reason why we haven't gotten a modern day Disney Studios Hulk movie. If I'm wrong, just comment down below. And let's take this guy out. Okay, so we have the superposable Hulk from 2003. Just holding the catapult accessory really takes me back. I really miss the days of Toy Biz having the Marvel license. I know nowadays Hasbro produces some top tier stuff, but Toy Biz, it was kind of cool to see them evolve, especially if you're at the start of like the early 90s when they were producing their Marvel superheroes and X-Men lines. They had the license for so long, and to see them evolve from the smaller, like 4-inch scale figures to the much more premium Marvel Legend figures over the course of over 10 years was just, I think, amazing. The display base kind of really epitomizes the design style of the figures from that time period. There's a lot of weathering effects, a lot of like dry brushing and this washes to create realistic looking textures and materials, and it really stands out on this display base. Some of you will remember that some of the early Marvel Legends figures came with like display bases also. For example, like some of the Wolverine figures, he kind of came with a dojo piece. Daredevil and Spider-Man, they might have come with like a brick wall or like a alleyway or like a fire escape. Captain America came with that like downed war tank, and you plug the flag atop it. So this kind of really takes me back to that era of Toy Biz action figures. And it's kind of cool, it's a very simple feature, but it works. You just put the figure on here, stand him up, and then when you hammer down on this, he's just going to go and rocket into the sky. But if you don't care so much for the play feature, just as a display piece by itself, it's pretty nice. And with a little bit of like elbow grease, I'm sure you could probably muscle this thing off if you wanted to display the base without the catapult. The figure, let's take a look at this guy up close. Wow, this really takes me back. Modern figures, they're engineered so differently compared to these older ones. But I still feel like some of these older figures, they kind of hold up, but in a very different kind of way. The care and attention to detail, I still think is, top notch. They put a lot of work into these figures back in the day. The sculpting, the texturing, the paint application, it's really nice how they dry brush this denim effect on his pants. The sculpting, it's nice, musculature, and it's a very vascular looking figure, as the Hulk should look. I love the expression. It's very dynamic. He's very angry and screaming. And there's some weight to this figure as well. The proportions are nice. It kind of feels just right. Although I do kind of think that for as large as he is, he could be proportioned a little bit more realistically. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, because I do have another Hulk figure from 2003 that I think is presented a little bit more realistically than this one. But this one has the benefit of having a lot more articulation and posability to it. Up close, again, nice face sculpt. The head could move. Does he look up? He does look up, surprisingly. You'd think with a guy without a neck that the head wouldn't move, but it does. And he has one of the weird play features in the back, so I'm assuming this is a reuse of another figure. Because Toy Biz, they were notorious, much like other toy companies, to constantly be reissuing figures or repurposing them or retooling them. This one has a hook on the back for what I'm assuming it was like another play feature on a previously released Hulk figure. He has a butterfly joint, but unfortunately, the range of motion, it's decent. But at the same time, when you pull the arms forward, you get this unsightly gap in the back. So, it's nice that it's superposable, but at the same time, you kind of sacrifice the aesthetic of the figure. He has a cut mid-torso, and it's kind of asymmetrical. It's not a perfect arch. It's a little bit leaning upward towards one direction more than the other, but it's okay. It still allows for some nice movement. So you could crunch forward, kind of arch back. Again, much like the butterfly joints, it kind of breaks the aesthetic of the figure slightly, But, remember, this is 2003, so, He has an articulated waist. His legs kick up and also kick outward. It's kind of like that T-bar hinge from back in the day. And then articulated knees and ankles. And he also has articulated toes. Oh, speaking of which, his fingers are articulated as well. This is a feature that we don't see very often in 6-inch scale action figures. I believe the last time I remember seeing this was probably with the Jazzwares Fortnite figures. Those had articulated fingers. And if I remember correctly, the design team on that were some of the older Toy Biz Marvel Legends people. So that explained that. And he does have a bicep cut also. So yeah, fantastic looking figure. Did we talk about his height? I think we might have passed up on that. This guy kind of falls into the older 6-inch Marvel Legends family. So He's about 6 3/4. For a size comparison, here he is next to a modern Marvel Legends Wolverine, a modern Marvel Legends X-Men Vulcan figure right here. Just for the hell of it, here is a McFarlane Batman. And I do have another 2003 Hulk figure. This one's cool. This is the Punching Hulk. This one has a much more realistic sculpt, and I have a feeling it's because I believe this figure was repurposed and reused, because I think this was from like the standard mainline Marvel line. That's why it's a little bit more, I don't want to say generic looking, but it's not as realistically presented as this one here. This one here, the likeness to actor Eric Bana is pretty good, especially when he hulks out. You know, this kind of resembles the CG model, whereas this one doesn't. This one has the benefit of being super articulated, but this one's chock full of play features. He has a lever on the back to create punching action, and then he even swivels at the waist for more punching action when he squeezes his legs together. So yeah, we have another 2003 Hulk figure, both from the live action film. And oh man, I just love the older Toy Biz stuff. I think it's great. And again, just for giggles, here's a modern 2024 Red Hulk riding off the waves of the upcoming Captain America film. But this is the comic book version of General Thunderbolt Ross. And produced by Hasbro, a much bigger figure. But at the same time, I think, you know, even though this one is superior in many ways, it's kind of nice to see, you know, the origins of, you know, the older Hulk figures. You know, this kind of like the granddaddy of the modern Hulk figure. So yeah, big fan of the Hulk, and it's just kind of cool seeing all these figures together. You know, these two figures bring back so many fond memories of that time period. But today is nice. You know, we're spoiled in wealth and riches with the modern figures. You know, these things are a beast. All right, so with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.